Okay, welcome everyone to Mudgear's first podcast. We are super excited to have our co-host or, guest, Mark Jones, and we have Mack Roesch with us today. We're super excited to be talking about, him, what he does, and we're going to drill him with a bunch of questions. So we'll see how it goes, but welcome both of you.
Welcome. Yeah, that was going to be one of my first questions. How do you even say your last name? Because it kind of comes off as Roesch, huh?
No, that was incorrect. I wanted to just jump in and correct everybody, but it's Mack Roesch, like rush hour, like rush in the football field, rush in the traffic.
Okay, Mack Roesch.
What is that?
Of course. Roesch is German. My dad's side is the German side. They're German, Italian. And then my mom's side is Seattle, which is my email. That's my original last name for the first 9 years of my life. And that's Sicilian, Italian, and Indian.
Wow.
Man, you are a mutt.
Yeah. But I got the best of both worlds because the Germans are the big muscle-bound, power, huge, strong guys and girls even. And then the Italians are like the ripped, wiry, always shredded. So that would explain.
That's pretty cool.
So besides the genetics, then I guess like this whole podcast endeavor is all about what made you tougher, right? The whole Mudgear Made Tougher podcast. So besides the genetics, what made you tougher?
Well, putting on the hat, that automatically made me 10 times tougher. But also taking off the shirt, I don't know what it is about that. That works too.
I'll tell you what, though, having a hat like that, and we won't even go into your car and other things, but I would say you nailed it. Like, confidence is a huge part of what we do, and especially everything you've tackled in life. Besides that hat, do you have any like other superpowers that you put on before you go perform?
Yeah, I wear a crown. It's
like a tiara.
No, it's like a king's crown. It was custom made that it just doesn't fall off, even if I did some front backflips for American Ninja Warrior. So running through the obstacles, I couldn't take it on an OCR though, because all the mud low crawls, that would just rip it right off.
Oh,
wow.
You just sparked some controversy between Ninja Warrior and OCR. Like that.
I don't know if you saw it, but I just posted, another one of my buddies just posted it as well. He's been waiting like 10 years to get on that show. But the question was very intriguing, got a lot of comments, was is OCR progressing as quick as Ninja Warrior, or slow, or just right?
So, Christine, do you have anything to ask Mack here?
Yeah, I mean,
I got a ton of stuff.
I know, yeah, you can keep going, but I'll jump in. I feel like our questions are going to be so different, which is nice. I feel like we should do a little intro here. Actually, Mark, maybe you can give us a little intro briefly on who you are, just so, if listeners are a little confused here. Actually, maybe we should do a little bit intro on that as well.
Well, I mean, that was going to be my first part here is, tell us who you are, obviously how to say your name to the world. And kind of your background, Mack. I mean, we met at TMX years ago. I believe that was the first invitational. They only did 2 years, I believe, but we met there. That was kind of vague, but then reunited at the first ever GORA Games. So Tell us a little bit more about what your background is and how you got to the GORA Games to reunite with me.
Well, I would definitely say thank you for the introduction, Mack. They also call me the Machine, the King of Obstacles from Ninja Warrior, Machine, Hexathlon, Estados Unidos, many TV shows, Broken Skull Challenge. I've done a lot. I've gotten really lucky there. But what I really got lucky about was these relationships, the communities. I just don't leave it behind, even though it feels like that when I go from one thing to another, because we're going from Ninja Warrior to GORA Games to TMX to all this. It's all it's all almost one community in a way, but then again, it's not. And everybody tends to like to focus on maybe one thing, whereas I don't. But what I do like to do is try to keep the relationships intact. And it always brings me back for another opportunity, as well as I hope that I can share my opportunities with others from my ventures. So this was really cool to meet you and many others out here.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in the sport, you meet amazing people. I mean, I think that's 90% of why I always jump back into these endeavors is the relationship and the community. And, you know, I think you've hit everybody across the whole spectrum on the upper echelon of the sport. Myself, I would say, you know, I kind of float in and out of different endeavors, but it seems like you keep them going and kind of migrate towards what everybody is doing as well. Like you just did, you know, the Spartan, and you were talking about other shows, and then the Gora Games, and now you're talking about selection, and it's really cool because you're having these, you know, like an ultra running community to a OCR community to a ninja community. And how do you keep up with it all? It's hard enough just to have, you know, like a newborn and just a, you know, family in a small town. And it seems like you have about 10 different communities that you're constantly keeping up with.
Let's talk a little bit about popularity and say a guy like Lance Armstrong or Shaquille O'Neal. Imagine that you've been in this business for a long time, which for us would be what we're doing in a way, hybrid athletics and obstacle course running. You get well known enough like those guys, and these opportunities just start flowing towards you because you have established yourself. So for like Lance Armstrong, you know, he made his name big in what he did, and then it just dropped down and he lost it. But what lived on was his legacy, and people like investors, like for him, would come up to him and say, look, I believe in you and I trust you. I think you'd be great here. And a guy like Shaquille O'Neal, they have so many different people coming at them with all these different ideas. They can just kind of pick the one that is just right for them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what's happened to me. Like I just got picked for a cooking show because a guy in OCR messaged me and said, hey, look, maybe he was into this cooking show thing. You could do it too. And I was like, you know what? Let me make a call. Let me see if I'm a good fit. I think I could do it. So now I might possibly be casted for the worst chef in America.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, it's a highest rating show on the Food Network. People who can't cook or not.
That's so funny.
So what's your worst recipe?
What I do, my worst two things is what I told them, and they said it would be perfect for the show, is I will overcook and burn and ruin the food because I just completely forget I was cooking. And then the other thing is just display. Like I used to like share my pictures of my food, like, hey, look at me, my selfie with my food. Be like, yo, that looks like crap. It's display. You can't display your food like that. You have to at least make it nice.
Put some cardboard slivers, right?
Yeah.
Hey, so I would hate to tell you how I get over that because I would burn food all the time unless I did a certain, you know, routine and structure to have in my life. So I don't burn things, so I don't forget about things. But I feel like I shouldn't tell you any of that, or we shouldn't talk about it because you're supposed to be the worst. And if that gets in your head, you might become the best. So let's stay away from that and wish you the worst of luck, I guess, on that endeavor.
I mean, I was going to ask on that note, you know, I think it's interesting to know what your diet is like. Like what do you eat during the day when you're training, when you're not training? You know, are you cooking most of your meals? Do you buy most of your meals? I feel like from an outsider perspective, it's really interesting. Like when I was at the Mudgear house in Jacksonville, Florida for the Sandlot Games, living with, you know, the girl athletes, I was so fascinated to see the way that they ate because I've never interacted with athletes on that level. And, I'm the type of person, like, I love to eat too. I love to make sure that, like, I'm constantly snacking and all of those things. And I was like, I eat like an athlete, but I'm not an athlete. And like, I was worried. I was like, are they going to eat enough? Because like, what if I need to eat? But turns out, we're always eating. Everyone's always eating carbs, and we had oat balls everywhere and pancakes. Like, there's just so much oats everywhere. So what does your diet kind of look like? And, how do you adjust that for training? Yeah.
Well, it's a great question. And I think you're right. It varies very much from person to person, and it gets very competitive in the eating just as much as the competition, because it goes hand in hand so much and it matters so much. But the answer for me would be very complex, and it would take probably an entire podcast to explain that. Almost can never eat enough is what it seems like sometimes. And then other times fasting works well.
Oh, wow. Okay, interesting. Do you, okay, so typically before some sort of like race, how many calories would you consume? I guess it depends on the race, but if it was like, say like a High Rocks CrossFit, an hour and a half kind of.
The same as everybody. When I got through a lot of different races with a lot of professionals, asking them, and a lot of champion winners, and it all basically comes down to about the same thing. A little bit of oats, like 2 parts oats, carbs, and like a banana or half a banana, and very easy to digest protein like an egg or 2. That would pretty much do it.
Wow. Okay. And then typically after a race, or after the Go Ruck Games races, do you go and feast? Do you refuel with like a big meal, or what's your like go-to kind of refuel?
Forget about all that, live in the moment, and then be like, oh man, I forgot.
Man, we didn't even have to wait until like after the whole weekend for Mac to be like, hey, you got a beer in here? Like right after the first ruck, we're like, we only have a few hours to go back to the next event. He's like, where's the beer? Let's get started. So,
well,
I mean, that's
carb,
recovery.
Quick carb.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
okay,
the body goes through a lot of pain, and you can research a little bit more about it. Lance Armstrong, he actually drank a beer midway through, and just like gummies on a marathon, just a little bit of something to just keep you going.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do you cook for yourself now, or like do you have like meals prepared, or what does that look like?
It's usually home cooked food from my father or going out.
Oh, I love that. That's sweet. Oh, actually, briefly talking about your father. So when we were on the live with you, and I asked about that Go Ruck Games in Sandlot when you had that wrestle with Kempson at the end there. I was like, how did you do that? How did you just tackle him like that? Did you have any training? And you were so excited to share your response. So maybe we can share it here as well.
Yeah, I'll share it here as well. When I was younger, my dad would basically put me in a submission move to wake me up, no alarm clock. And I'd be like, I'm a little tiny kid, and he's huge giant wrestler guy, and he was professional wrestler. So yeah, it would wake me up in the morning. So after getting through that stress and okay, I'm up now, leave me alone. But eventually I got bigger, and now he doesn't mess with me, but he's a pro wrestler.
Hey, I got to ask. So you and Kempson were forced into it. But what I was really curious about is that I heard this loud slam, and then I look over and I see you and Cadre DS going at it. And I was like, what the hell just sparked this? And actually, who won? Because it seemed like it was just a mutual, hey, we're done type of deal. Can you want to explain that a little bit?
Exactly. Well, I felt the need to practice a little bit more. Also, I felt really good about myself after finishing an event that I didn't expect that I was going to be doing. So I knew that this guy was itching. I could just tell. And not only was he itching, I just wanted to see if what he had looks wise going on was also, did he have it going on? Like not just talk the talk, look the look, but could he walk the walk? And it was fun because he got to let that out and show that he's the real deal. He took his shirt off and man was out there with the 8-pack and said, I'll throw down right now. And I'm like, perfect. I can practice.
So what you're saying is, one, he's a beautiful man, and you wanted to see if it wasn't just like pretty boy muscles. And let me just get this straight. Did you have any sense of background of where he's come from or any of that?
Just by the way he speaks, I knew that I could respectfully wrestle him. So I wasn't afraid of, all right, this guy is a loose cannon. I could tell he was well composed. And he was more my size versus Kempson. So I really wanted to, while my blood was still flowing, just let's see what happens. And you said it was pretty mutual. And I think it was good for both of us.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. As being a race director, he's gone through a lot, beyond those few days. And this is months of planning. And as much as that would come across as like a what the hell scenario for most people, you absolutely nailed it. Like that was something as an RD needs to like have, as crazy as it sounds, you need that little bit of celebratory release, especially with his background being, he's in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and he's really big on that, and obviously strong and walks the walk. So I'm sure, I don't know if have you talked to him since then?
No, but I don't know how fresh he was, but I could imagine he was pretty stressed out during all that. But I was pretty worn down from the 3 days of competing, and I think it was fair, even though we both went through a lot and the whole show was over. I think it was a pretty fair matchup.
Yeah, we'd love to see that again. I mean, you nailed it too. He was definitely more mentally depleted, and you were physically depleted, obviously. But still, to see that, it was pretty cool. Are you looking forward to more of that in the future?
Well, tell me more about him. You were about to, but I went rambling on. You said, do you know who he is? What he's been through? Tell me about that a little bit, because it looks like he's been through something.
And yeah, so he's one of those cadre in the Go Ruck world, and this is one thing we told them they should have done a little bit more of is kind of announce themselves, who they are, give a brief background, because they do that at typically all the events. This is actually the first one I've been to. They haven't really done that. They just did a brief introduction of their names and who they were, and just on the baseline level. So he's one that's really respected in the community. When I did team assessment, their first year of that, he was one of the cadre, and I just instantly migrated towards him with the respect. Obviously, the appearance, strong guy, stays in shape, can dish it out, and as somebody as me as a leader and race director, I'm going to make sure that I go through the ringer before I put somebody else through it. So that lead by example mentality, I mean, I think everybody saw it. He did an excellent job on the way he spoke, the way he presented himself, and the performance for the weekend. So he was in the Air Force. I mean, he can tell you more of this stuff. You'll see him down the road, but in the special operations community, obviously, as all those guys are, and then again, the Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So he has that background. So it's funny because Patrick said, man, he just got a huge rating in the GoRuck community by doing that move right there. But it's funny because a lot of people would be scared to do what you did, where you just went right in, even after all the competition, where most people wouldn't do it fresh. I can name like two guys, Joe Baker. I don't know if you remember him. He was there. And then Chad Malone, the guy that was officiating, and bald black guy that was there in the ring with you guys coaching.
Yeah.
Chad's another guy who has his own gym. That's what he does as a career, selection finisher. And those are the two guys I could say on site that would have done the move you did. So
they could do damage. And if you had to, which one, if you had to go against one in the ring, which one would you choose? If you had to be one or the other.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
I would choose you.
Oh, yeah, because those guys are the real deal. They were watchful eye. A lot of people in the community have been talking about, oh, safety this, safety that, but realize these guys are professionals keeping a close eye on everything. And turns out nobody really got super injured, like career ending, which is, of course, the concern. But it was very well thought out, very well planned, and very well watchful eyes over foreseeing the event.
Yeah, so the caution around events is based off fear. It's a fear-based scenario. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get hurt. That seems to be the world we live in. But what wasn't announced or doesn't even need to be announced when you have a professional event with confidence is that you have this vast community that has these skills. If someone gets hurt, guess what? A medic's going to pop there right in the scene and have everything done. And that all revolves around planning, contingency plans. In the military, we call it 5-point contingency plan. So we always know what's going to happen in various scenarios. And of course, you what if everything to death. Whereas, other events, I would say more recently that you've been to, they don't do that kind of stuff. They live by titles and egos, and they don't think about everything through. And it seems like everything's done on a whim, and it's not thought out. And whatever that reason may be, it's really good to see that you guys witnessed firsthand the comparisons between different events and different scenarios. So, hands down, I saw a lot of things as a director that could be improved. I discussed them with GoRuck themselves, but it's what makes an event is when you can stand on that inside, say that was an amazing event, and then walk away and not know that what was wrong at all. Even though you could talk to them on the side and they'd be like, yeah, this time that was kind of messed up and this wasn't supposed to happen. But as long as you as an athlete do not witness that and you could still walk away saying that was amazing, then that's a win.
Yeah. I want to switch gears here and get a little deeper in some questions with you, Mack. I'm curious to know, this obviously takes a lot of time and dedication and commitment and mental, not just physical strength. So what is your why behind doing what you do? What is that motivating factor? What pushed you to even start, this career?
Well, from the start, it's going to be maybe different than where I'm at now. In the start, I was just a young man with a little more energy. Ever since I was a little kid, they said, you've got ADD, but honestly, look at the way the system is. They're going to keep you confined and not moving around a lot. That's going to make any kid antsy and want to go do stuff. So what I realized from my grades, getting bad grades in school, but always ace in health and fitness was kind of a determining factor of the direction I was going to take my life. Look, I'm good at this. Let's focus on what I'm good at instead of trying to do what everybody else says I need to be doing, which would be 9 to 5, get married, have kids, and just go to college and then go to your grave. So got rid of all that. It's a huge step forward in my life that it definitely proved itself, because once I started on that path, other obstacles in my life just started falling down, and I just knew this was the path for me, because I was noticed and recognized for what I could do talent-wise. And I learned a lot more about myself and discovered more about myself that I could bring to this world. So when people say, something about being seen, like, oh, don't go videotape your run or whatever. But I would say something the opposite of like, well, nobody's going to know if I don't share it with anybody. Something that we as people are capable of. And I thought it was pretty amazing being over 200 pounds, being first ever 200-pound American Ninja Warrior finalist, running top 5, top 3 podium in a Spartan race at over 200 pounds. It's just, it blew my mind. And I think it blew other people's minds. And not only that, it's motivating to other people. So that's one of the things in the beginning. Now, where I'm at now is, let's see, am I tapping into all that potential, or do I still have something more? And obviously, when you're in third place or you're in last place, it tells you, look, there's still more room to improve.
Wow. Okay. I love your mindset so much. I think that's so important. The first part that you mentioned, you know, like, okay, let's not really focus on where your strengths may not be, you know, and like put in so much more time and energy for you to just kind of maybe push the needle there. But it's like, focus on your strengths and just like keep pushing that forward. And, you know, I feel like a lot of life coaches and other experts would probably say the same thing. I've read books that said the same thing as well. So you kind of got that from the start. I think it's awesome that your parents, you know, let you choose that path for yourself, you know, like growing up too, and not trying to push you to fit a certain like box or whatever it is. They kind of were like, okay, you know, like this is your strength. And I think it must be helpful that your dad is a wrestler as well. So that must have been, you know, very health and fitness directed. Is your mom like in the same kind of thing, or do you have any siblings that do that too, or what's that like?
Oh yeah, that's great. Thank you for the compliment, and I'm sure my dad would definitely appreciate that as well. I'll tell him after. But yeah, my mom, she's just one of those naturally, actually the whole family on that other side is just naturally always, you know, in shape in a way that they're very capable in a way, but none of them actually train like an athlete at all. But whenever they get in the situation, they just attack it with confidence, be like, oh, I can do it too. And it's always impressive to see somebody who doesn't do any kind of training just to go jump in and do something enthusiastically. And I think I get that go-getter positive attitude from that side of the family.
Wow, that's awesome. I love that. I want to like meet your parents. Bring them on next time. So do you have any siblings? What's that like?
Yeah, I have a sister. She's younger than me. She's married. She's already had 2 kids, and she's living that life. She's out in the country. She's a good drive away, so we don't see each other or talk to each other very much. It's kind of a distant thing. We've kind of took different paths.
Okay. Yeah. No, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate like the openness and like willingness to share that. So that's nice. I feel like a lot of people don't know that, you know, even just from like athletes all the time. It's just like, oh, like, what's your favorite achievement? Or like, what are you looking forward to next? I'm like, okay, but you know, like what made you want to do this? You know, what's your family like? You know, I mean, obviously you have the good genes advantage. So we're gonna like put a little benefit to that. Yeah. There you go.
And I think that's what it's all about. It's like what made you tougher, and we migrate towards, well, I go to the gym, I eat this way, I do this and that, but there's that whole mindset of how you were raised, what environment was like, what pushed you to that edge of exploring new opportunities in this world. So that's really cool. I mean, that you had used this as an outlet and to represent the Clydesdales doing it, because you're absolutely right. You cannot judge anybody by their 8-pack or, you know, their obesity in the world by doing these events. Like anybody can surprise you at any time. And that's the beauty about the sports. There's no set standard to how you need to perform or what you need to look like. So that's really cool, man.
That is awesome. And it's great because like the way my dad thinks of it is, look at all the people that there's just not enough spots to get in the NBA or the MLB or the NFL or the soccer and get paid the millions of dollars to do what you love. So what do all these other athletes do? Where can they go? And thank God for all these organizations that are giving a platform for people to, show their talent and show their skill. That, look, not everybody gets that top spot, but there's people out there that have talent that may even be better than, say, Conor McGregor at fighting, but they're just not known, or they just don't have the platform, or there's just nothing in their area for that, or the opportunity didn't exist. So it's really great to find people like you all, and that we can get around and motivate and inspire each other.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely motivated. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. I mean, every event, the few I've done, or I've stood on a podium, or even just doing it, you're like, man, the greatest athlete is still out there in the woods training for life, not even specific, like, doesn't even care about this stuff because they do it on a daily basis, and it's just so cool to think about how you could bring them into this world and see how they would perform.
Yeah, it gives me an idea for you, Mark. I really wanted to bring this up. And now I have a chance to. While I was out on my run, I was going to go for the longest I've ever ran before in my life on Sunday Fun Day, just to see how far I could go. Ended up stopping at 11.5, which was just short of the 12 we did with the ruck. But I thought, what if there was a new kind of style race where they had a weigh-in like they did in the UFC, but with your ruck, and everybody had to carry over 200 pounds. But the people that weigh over 200 pounds, they don't need a ruck. But if you want to be in this race, you have to carry a minimum 200 pounds. And to see how people would do with that kind of weight in a foot race, that would be really cool.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, so that kind of weight. First of all, if I was to do a race, I think I would make that carry your body weight.
Okay.
So body weight, I think, would be fair. So if you're big and strong like yourself, it might or might not be an advantage. I mean, carrying your body weight, who knows? But when you get, I think the most I've carried was probably about that, or like 10 pounds off. But man, that is soul crushing weight. But it feels so good. So, I mean, maybe we just do that one day. We just get together. You're going to come here soon, right? So let's just do that. See what happens.
Yeah.
200-pound 5K.
See what happens first, have some fun with it. And you never know. This could be the next big thing.
Well, I'm glad you thought about me on your run. That's what's most important here.
I mean, on top of that too, it's like, what else are you thinking about on these workouts or like your runs when you're like, you're might have hitting that wall when you're almost giving up, or maybe you don't really, but what thoughts are going through your head when you were doing that 12-mile ruck on the beach? When there are moments when you feel like, is this it? Like, is this as far as I'm going to go? What are you saying to yourself? What is that self-talk that's happening?
I thought about this actually when I went on that run yesterday, and before I went on, I was like, what really motivates me to do something that is very difficult to do? And looking at my past, because I like to monitor my progress and monitor, what's working, what's not, being aware. And what I'm aware of now is that all my longest, biggest runs and achievements have been when I was pretty much forced to do them in a competition where there was no looking back. And it's like, look, this is the goal. This is the objective. There's no looking back. You have to get to the finish line. You have to do this. And it's impossible task. It's like, oh, well, a normal person, I've never done that. This is going to be super hard. I don't think I can do it. But what happens to me is I just say, I have to do it. I have to. I just got to. I know I've never done it before. I don't know if I can do it, but I tell myself I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. And that attitude is just what I have to keep the whole time doing it. And believe me, I'm a normal human like you, and I'm attacked in my own mind to give in, to stop, to quit. And I just say, no, the whole time to that voice. And I just stick to a simple task of moving forward.
Wow. I love that. That was so motivating.
That's
Thank you for sharing.
there's one word that always pops in my head when I hear that story, and that's conviction. And I feel like conviction is one of the strongest words right next to resiliency, right? The demons come in, you fight them, and you move on. And it's just that constant battle,
Yeah.
and it's your body, nope, don't want to do this, but I have to mentality. And, for someone that keeps, I guess, essentially PRing in these events where you're forced to do something because you have that conviction, you're not really forced, you just have that drive and determination to get it done because you signed up for it. You're going to get it done. Do you think that causes more of a fear saying, I've never done this, or more of an excitement to say, I'm about to tackle this thing I've never done before?
Definitely a combination. Definitely. Because one of the biggest motivators in achieving a goal is not just the journey, because you're taught to enjoy the journey. So somehow you've got to figure out a way to enjoy that journey. But the end result of the feeling of accomplishment is what they call it. If you can really envision yourself as, say, the champion, or as, say, crossing the finish line, and keep thinking of those good, positive thoughts of what it's going to be like when you conquered that thing, it's going to feel good, and it's something to look forward to. So looking forward to that achievement and sense of accomplishment sure helps.
Yeah. So what I remember when we got back to the house was you obviously had the conviction, you got it done, you crossed the finish line, but the resilience, for me, if I perform at a lower level, I'm really hard on myself, and it hurts me down the road. And that's something, after 10 plus years in this world, I continue to battle. But for you, you're such a positive, optimistic person. You got back to the house and you're like, well, I didn't really do good in that event, but I'm going to crush the rest of this, and you went from, I don't know, what did you place in the run?
I must have just made it into like that top tier, I don't know. I just don't know. No one told me. I don't know. But I know that there's nobody behind me for like 30 minutes. So I knew I was in that. I was like the last one in that front group. Okay. But, the straggler that was way behind, just hanging on by the thread, like somehow getting pulled by a thread and it didn't break. That was me. But thank you. I appreciate it.
So, like, this guy.
It was definitely a driven weekend.
So you would say like the top third. So there was 50 guys out there, say top 20, right? I know Kempson. Were you ahead of Kempson? No, okay.
I know, man. Asked, I got testy, man, because I put in a lot of work at the back, like last 2 miles, like was all heart, and the sand was just, it was even, I don't know what it was about the sand. It just got even harder and harder to do. And I was emptying the tank, and I said, hey, I told all those guys, what's my time? How far did I go? Because it was an unknown. And I knew I wanted to have that in my mind of saying, this is something I accomplished, and I'll never know what it was. I know it was 12 miles. With the timer.
Well, at some point they'll do the results. I hear they're coming maybe next week, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully. But anyway, nice. the point to be made was that, I mean, even that scenario is even worse to really project forward and be resilient about, because not only are you, in this long multi-day competition, are you saying, man, I'm back of the pack, and that's almost self-defeating moving forward, knowing that points are like golf. So now you have double digits, and you're like, how am I going to start knocking off single digits in an unknown scenario? And being that resilient to come back and place where you did. I mean, that's ultimately the goal and the point here. It's pretty incredible.
Thank you, man. It reminds me of past situations. I'm sure you can relate in your endeavors. There was one specific one, the Broken Skull Challenge. It was For me, a similar mindset. What I did in that show was I had to go against Goliath, basically, monsters to get to the obstacle. Robert Killian was one of those guys. Hunter was one of those guys. It's a lot of guys on that show that wanted to get to that obstacle course. And that's ultimately the goal, to win the show, is to get through the obstacle course. But you had to go through a series of insane other things. And I was like, I got to get to this next thing, but I have to go through this thing to get to it. And that was a huge motivating thing to get to the Savage Race obstacle course for me. I was like, no matter what, I got to get to the Savage Race obstacle course. I don't care. I have to hang on because I love that stuff. That's my passion, the obstacles.
Yeah. Well, we're pretty close on time. I mean, I don't want to go too long after an hour. Mark, do you have like one or two more questions that you wanted to focus on?
I mean, Mac, we could branch off in a million directions here with questions and getting to know each other, man. But I want to personally say I'm glad when we had that moment of, seeing you in the parking lot after the 12-mile ruck, and it was hey, we have a lost puppy here that needs some tending to, and I'm very, very honored to be able to welcome you into the house that we had and celebrate, your victory, and have all the emotions we had in that house. Man, it was good to have you. I'm so happy we had the opportunity. But I did have, something I just, on my list of questions to ask you. What's next?
I was going to
besides cooking, worst cooking show.
Yeah, I'm going to have to pick my words. Well, first, from the heart, thank you so much. That was heartfelt, and I really, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate that. And thanks for taking in the sad puppy.
You're a happy puppy. You wag your tail all day.
Yeah, happy pup. That's it. And that's what makes this world go around, is these relationships and togetherness. So thank you so much. That was a great opportunity for all of us.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, the next big thing is something never before done, never before seen or done before. It's going to be a huge feat, physical and mental feat. It will be filmed in a documentary type of setting. And that's all I can really say right now. And it's going to be taking place the 1st of next month. I'll be flying out to do it.
Okay.
Awesome.
Can we ask a few questions, and maybe you just give us a yes or no, or hot or cold?
Yeah, sure.
Is it similar to Indiana Jones?
Cold.
Okay.
Okay. This is interesting. I guess we'll have to do like a round.
Let's just
two.
do 3 each. Let's do 3 each, Christine. What do you think?
You can go. Honestly,
all right.
I'm gonna leave the suspense there. I like the tension.
I love games.
I want the surprise.
All right. Indoor, outdoor?
I'm not sure. Probably both.
Oh, okay. Will there be eating weird stuff?
No.
All right. I am way off here. I suck at this.
A hint would be, I could give you a hint. It would be physically demanding.
Mm.
Well, I mean, that seemed pretty obvious.
It's a good hint. It's gonna leave us wondering for sure.
All right. You'll probably be doing like a push-up or two, right?
No, I don't think there'll
No.
be.
All right. Okay.
I guess one of my questions is, I know we were talking about, you love having a beer afterwards because you do a lot of work. It's a lot of, oh my God, what's the word? Like, it's a lot of strain on your body, and so you need to find ways to recover. So, I noticed on your Instagram the other day that you were in an ice bath. So is that something that you were doing for recovering? And what other types of forms of recovery do you do, like after your races or just in general?
Thanks. Good question. Kicking it up a notch in recovery is definitely, I just said, if I'm kicking it up a notch in physical output and effort, I think it's the smart thing to do is just pick it up in recovery too. So that's exactly what I did. Normally, a staple in my recovery is like those Rapid Reboot Normatec boots.
Mm-hmm. I saw that on your stories.
That and also lots of heat. Actually, heat for me is really good. Probably 90% is heat. Get everything warm, get everything hot. Then that's the ice bath. That's this extra, let's go insane. Let's all out effort. Throw the ice bath in. It's just something I don't do regularly, but I would if I had, an ice machine or something other than buying a bunch of bags of ice all the time.
I was going to say the better story would have been you going to the store, pulling those 100 pounds of ice out of the store, and then the process of you dumping it in. Maybe include that next time. That's pretty cool. Because I used to go down to the grocery store in the little bodega where I used to live, and I would do like my farmer carry a half mile with these ice bags, right? And like that was kind of like my workout before icing. But man, 100 pounds, that's a lot.
I think if you look at that video again on social media, I saw my skin was completely red. I think I did too much. It was too much cold for me. It hurt. My back went like this, and it got stuck in like a froze position. And you could see in my face, I was like, oh my gosh, it was the most painful ice bath of my life.
Oh my gosh.
I think Wim Hof would have a few select words for you in complaining about that.
Yeah, but I think Wim Hof ran 10 miles in 90-degree temperatures and then jumped in 100 pounds of ice before.
Oh, call out.
Where you at?
That's funny. No, that's awesome. I'm curious. I mean, you were saying that you love the heat stuff. Have you ever tried hot yoga? So I'm a yoga instructor, so I feel like I'm going to start asking that to people.
Wow. You're giving me flashbacks. When I was in my prime, I was in hot yoga.
No, it's definitely really good. But yeah, if you like the heat stuff. But yeah. Do you get regular massages? I was asking it to the girls in the house too, because it's like they're all stretching and rolling on these balls. And I was like, you know what? Like, do you guys get massages? Because you should. Like, it's definitely gonna be really helpful.
Yeah, I wish I was getting regular massages. When I was back in my TV show days, they were giving me massages weekly. So I was doing weekly.
The good life. All right. Well, I mean, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Mark, did you have anything else that you wanted to ask or say?
I was just gonna, finish off with a quote.
Yeah.
I like live for something or die for nothing. If you know Rambo, that's a great one. Just the way he says it, and the scenario and everything, it kind of relates heavily for me. What would you say is something that does that for you, Mac?
Just do it. Thank you, Nike.
Just do it.
Awesome.
You got to give him something. Yeah.
Was there anything else that you wanted to share, Mac, before we close off?
Just great appreciation. Follow everybody on social media, and thanks for everything that all you do. Yeah,
thank you. I was going to say, so where can everyone find you? They're, tuning in and don't already follow you, which, I'm sure everyone is already following you, but where else can people find you?
On YouTube, Facebook, Instagram is Mack Roesch, just my name, and that's all I have right now. Okay, awesome. We'll if we post this, we'll make sure to have the handles and all of that good stuff on there. But yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much. I appreciate both of your time, Mark and Mac, for taking time out of your day to do this and sit together and chat. I really appreciate it, and it was really nice getting to know you more. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you at more events, hopefully, and we'll chat again soon for sure. Yes, definitely. Let's chat soon. Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you both so much.